and paying attention to like every little thing that might happen. Because you can't trust everybody that you work with. It's impossible. And you have to really like trust them in a different sense. Trust them through your own trust of yourself. Which I'm like very happy that I was forced into the situation to learn that. Well, not forced, because nobody forced me to do porn, but like forced myself into that situation, because I've come out with like a better understanding of myself, a better understanding of my own sexuality, and I think I've come out with like a better understanding of like an ability to teach others in how to do this, and how to have anal sex and how to prepare for anal sex, and I think that I find that very like valuable for myself, because before I did porn, I was a teacher. I was a music teacher, and being a teacher is like a very valuable thing to me. And so learning anything to the point where I feel comfortable with teaching someone else, it's a very like strong accomplishment. So yeah, I would say that I have a master's in anal sex.
You certainly have a lot more experience doing anal on camera than I do. What are some of the things that I've dabbled with? A lot of the things that you're talking about. I think I find that telling everybody ahead of time what are the things that I need. Well, first, I guess knowing what I need.
Yeah,
to be
knowing
able to do
what
it,
you need is very important.
And then being able to effectively communicate that to people who need to know.
Yeah, for sure.
I find doing self-insertions in my ass difficult. So I know a lot of girls, they do a really long warm-up. That doesn't seem to help me. Seem to be able to, like, getting into it, imagining for myself, which I guess is sort of a form of masturbation, right? Like, what's it going to be like, imagining how I might look when I'm getting fucked in the ass, you know? Rather than seeing the preparation as a chore, trying to make it really fun, that's really helped me a lot, because the minute I start having fun, all of a sudden I relax, because I'm not worried anymore, you know? And if I'm not thinking, oh god, maybe I can't do it, maybe it won't go well, maybe it will hurt, maybe there won't be chemistry, if I'm thinking, man, it's gonna be really hot when I'm fucked in the ass. It's a totally different mind frame for me.
Yeah, for sure.
And in terms of, the learning to control the anal muscles, that's something that I've had, like, somewhat success with. And I think that's, like, when I get nervous, like, I definitely feel it in my tummy, So it's things that earlier in the day have happened that maybe were stressful. I think it's much harder for me to do my process that's going to open those muscles. And so sort of being aware of, like, what's been going on,
Yeah.
is helpful. But I do have kind of a visualization process that I go through, and I have these different sorts of, like, pictures of the inside of my body that I think about when I really want to try to, like, make my butt open. And I always like to imagine that there's lots of room, because that makes me feel more relaxed,
Well, and that's another thing. I would say that in the process that I have in working with someone I've never worked with, or having sex with someone I've never had sex with, there's sort of like guidelines that I follow, but of course they're very variable. The guidelines the guidelines are variable, because everybody's body is different. So what might work for me won't necessarily work for you, and what might work for you won't necessarily work for me. So that's it's why it's so important to have the chance to be able to pay attention to someone and have that communication with them. So what are some of the things that you like, and like the way someone else would warm you up, or the way someone else would start? And you've already mentioned eye contact and a connection.
Having people's hands on me, especially when we're using toys. But well before that, I think this is something we were talking about earlier off camera. I don't want you to start small. Like, putting one finger in is going to just irritate me, and it's going to make me be like, ugh. So starting with, like, 2 or 3 fingers, and I like kind of a twisting open motion rather than a more of a in and out.
Right.
And since I'm G-spot sensitive, having a pivot, and then when you're getting in there, then trying to pivot against my cervix. And if you just get that just a little bit, I'm going to want it in my mind. And then, then you can cram your dick in.
Awesome.
And we have some pretty big dildos.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it'll go all the way in, but it's certainly long enough to hit those spots that I like.
Yeah. Yeah, so just so you all know, we actually came here to set with the exact same dildo. which I thought was really great. Now, mine's black and hers is white, but, you know.
But the same model, the same make.
Same model, same
everything.
make, everything is exactly the same. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna like this girl.
It's a good dildo. It's very realistic and it's firm, but it's got some give, which is nice.
Yeah, I really love that dildo. It's great. My preparation for a scene, an anal scene, is far more comprehensive than my preparation for anal sex at home. My preparation literally for anal sex at home is I have a bowel movement, I wait a little bit of time, I maybe do like those very small bottles that you can buy at a drugstore of an enema. It's like that big. I think it's 8 ounces. I dump the solution out and I refill it with water. You know, that solution is a laxative, so if you push the solution inside of your body, it will encourage whatever is in your rectum to exit. So that is, you do not want to use the solution in the bottle if you're planning on having anal sex. I use water. I basically just sort of like swish out what is in the bottom of my rectal cavity, because you're not going to have anal sex at home is not like the ass pounding you see on camera. Anal sex at home is far less invasive in a sense, and you don't necessarily need to have all that preparation, all that clean out. And if you have a good diet, like if you know your bowel movements in a sense, so you don't have IBS or anything along those lines, then a good solid bowel movement and one small enema will do the trick just fine. It's not necessarily necessary to put a huge amount of water in your body. And when you do put a huge amount of water in your body, you can actually deplete your system of nutrients and minerals. So you want to be really careful with the amount of enema water or enema solution that you put up inside your body, because you can actually make yourself sick. You also want to make sure that the temperature is as close to your body temperature as possible, because if you put cold water in your body, you will lower your body's temperature, which can make you sick. And if you put hot water in your body, you will actually raise your body's temperature, which can also make you sick. So you need to be very sensitive about these things, and don't go through too much clean out, because you put yourself at higher risk for these possibilities. Anything you want to add?
When I'm having anal sex at home, often my preparation is bend over. And a lot of times you stick the fingers in and it's fine, you know, and you can just go for it. And you know what? If it's not fine, then I can go clean it. I've had issues with doing lots of enemas. I actually think lots of heavy enemas can be a lot of fun. That's kind of another
enema
topic.
play, right? But enema play isn't necessarily anal sex.
But I've done a lot of enema play, and it actually can be risky for your health, and you do want to take it slow. And I try to do enemas really as very little as possible. I also take probiotics when I do enemas to try to help my system.
Keep the good bacteria inside your body.
My system is sensitive to that, especially, and I've done some enema scenes where I need to do a really thorough clean out. And you can sometimes see that you can see the bacteria coming out and that things are changing. You can feel it. So I try to take probiotics. But often for anal sex, I really find that any kind of clean out isn't necessary. And as for this no eating thing, anal sex, like we were talking about, something that should be fun. Mm-hmm. Having a headache because you haven't eaten, this is not fun. And I don't recommend it.
Well, and on top of that, what are you going to eat? What are you going to do? Not eat for 7 days? Because some food, it takes 7 days for your body to digest. And that's just ridiculous and unsafe. So starving yourself for 24 hours is not going to clean out your body system. You starving yourself for 48 hours is not going to. And anything beyond that is incredibly dangerous. So you should absolutely not fast or stop eating for the sake of having anal sex. You just need to make sure that you have a good and healthy diet so that you can regulate your bowel movements if that is a concern of yours. But some people actually don't care about, running into fecal matter when they're having anal sex. Doesn't bother some people. So I think it's really important to have that discussion with your partner so you know that you're on the same page.
I think the one thing sometimes I'll try to do is lay off the coffee a little bit. And that's something
I don't
that's
drink
just-
coffee, so
yes.
I've never had that experience.
Not, taking a couple days off coffee, it can rebalance. I mean, coffee can really upset your stomach depending on who you are. Like for me, it does it's a diuretic. Much like the laxatives, it has the same sort of effect. So if I lay off the coffee, I find that I become a little bit more regular. And if I'm looking to be, for any reason, whether I want to just take better care of myself or whether I think I'm going to do a lot of anal sex, I'm still trying to cut back or cut out my coffee.
Right. Oh, and the other thing I want to mention is I've heard people take Imodium for anal sex. Imodium, for those of you who don't know, it's a anti-diarrheal. And it's supposed to be used when you have very watery diarrhea and you're putting in your body is at risk of becoming dehydrated. And if you're expelling that much water through your bowel movements, then you do put yourself at risk for dehydration. What Imodium does is it actually sucks that water up so that you have a more solid bowel movement. This is very dangerous to do if you don't have diarrhea. What it's going to do with a normal, healthy digestive system is it's going to suck whatever water is left out. And it's going to make your bowel movements slower. It can make you severely constipated, and it can also give you an impacted bowel. And an impacted bowel is a very dangerous thing, and you have to end up in the hospital and sometimes have surgery to get rid of it. So Imodium is a very bad choice. Do not look for those types of things, anti-diarrheals, for having anal sex. Also, I've heard people talk about anal ease. Using anal ease. What anal ease does is it numbs your area, it numbs your muscles, it numbs your, it numbs your asshole. So when somebody sticks something in, you don't feel it going in. And a lot of the people are very scared of the feeling of anal sex. The feeling of anal sex is not necessarily a hurt. It's more of the feeling of stretching a very tight muscle. So if you have ever had a cramp and you try and stretch that cramp, that muscle cramp, it's kind of that's kind of what the feeling is. And that's a very intense feeling. And it hurts, but it's a different type of hurt than like a slap or a cut or something like that. It's very specific muscle hurt. So that's why you have to learn to relax. Now, anal ease, when it numbs that muscle and you don't feel it, you just don't feel the hurt. But the tension is still there, and you're actually putting yourself at risk for a really bad injury. So anal ease is probably one of the worst things I have ever seen someone use. Also, it will numb your fingers. If you stick your finger into an asshole that has anal ease on it, it will numb your fingers. If you stick your mouth onto an asshole that has anal ease, it will numb your mouth. And for those of you men who are out there watching this that are gonna go fuck their wives, it will numb your cock. So
I think we've gone through a lot of things that you shouldn't do. I think one of the big things that you should do is make sure your nails are filed and blunt. Mm-hmm. This is really important. If things are sharp or pointy, this can cut, tear, hurt, and bring a world of trouble. So making sure that everything that's put in there is rounded and safe for the butt is really important.
I always keep my nails very short. Yeah, lubrication. Lubrication is very important.
That works for you. I have very specific preferences with what kind of lube I like, and there are friends who hate the lube that I use and have their own.
Right.
So if one thing doesn't work or it burns per se, if the lube burns, stop.
Right, and knowing that is very important, and also knowing the ingredients that are within the lubes. And there's so many different types of lubes. You all you have to do is read the label and see what it's made out of. Some people prefer water-based, some people prefer silicone-based, some people prefer a water-based because some water bases have sugar in it, and so some people prefer ones that don't have sugar, some people prefer the ones that do have sugar. It's all about your body and how your body reacts to it. And unfortunately, there's no easy way to test this out other than trying it. So I think you have to just be willing to explore. I think it's one of the most important things about anal sex is really be willing to explore, be willing to communicate with your partner, and be willing to understand that you guys may not like the same thing. Mm-hmm. I can just say that personally, most conversations I have with women who enjoy anal sex, they say bigger is better. and small sort of pokes around and is uncomfortable. I have personally found that to be the case. I'm not a size queen by no means, but I've just found that to be the case. Now, as far as starting out is a whole different realm of, oh, I've been doing this